He was brilliant, focused, full of promise, until life ripped everything away in one night. A tragic accident, a silent betrayal, and a heart caught between loyalty and luxury. This is the story of Harrison, a boy who had everything and lost it all. But just when life pushed him to the edge, love showed up. Now two women pull him in opposite directions. One rich, one loyal, and one choice that could destroy him forever. But before you judge him, watch till the end. Because this isn't just a love triangle, it's a story of pain, sacrifice, and the unexpected path to redemption. Stay with me. You need to see how it ends. From the very beginning, everyone knew Harrison was different. While other children stumbled through their alphabets, Harrison was reading full sentences at age 4. His teachers often shook their heads in amazement. "This boy is going places," they'd whisper in the staff room. And truly he was. By the time he got to SS3, Harrison wasn't just top of his class. He was the pride of the entire school. They called him the professor, not because he boasted, but because he was calm, wise, and brilliant. He didn't study just to pass. He studied to understand. Always with a pen behind his ear and a quiet intensity in his eyes, he was the one other students asked for help, even the seniors. When he got into a federal university to study electrical engineering, nobody was surprised. What surprised them was the scholarship he secured from a local NGO. It covered most of his tuition and gave him a small stipend. At last, life was unfolding the way he had dreamed. Structure, purpose, progress. But no one tells you how fast life can turn. It happened in 200 level during the rainy season. Harrison's parents had called earlier that Friday night, laughing, promising they were bringing his favorite rice and stew. "Wait for us by the gate," his mother had said. He waited and waited. But instead of headlights, he got a phone call. A trailer had lost control and crushed their car on the expressway. Both his mother and father died on the spot. That night, something inside Harrison died too. The sparkle in his eyes faded. The laughter in his voice disappeared. He went from being the professor to being just another student with tired eyes. At the funeral, his uncle stood tall, shaking hands, hugging people, wiping fake tears. "Don't worry me," he told Harrison. "I'll take care of everything." Harrison believed him, because who else could he trust? Family is family, or so he thought. Barely a week after the burial, his uncle went silent. No calls, no updates. Then came the real betrayal. Harrison returned home one day and found the house locked and emptied. His uncle had sold the building, cleared out the bank accounts, sold his father's car, and even took Harrison's laptop, the one he used for schoolwork. When Harrison confronted him, the man didn't deny it. Instead, he laughed coldly and slapped him hard.
You think life is fair? You think because you were first in your class, life will pity you? Wake up. Hustle like everyone else.
And just like that, Harrison was alone. No home, no parents, no savings, nothing. He returned to school a shadow of himself. He had no money for rent, so he squatted on the floor of a friend's hostel. Sometimes he went to bed without food. Sometimes he had to walk long distances just to attend lectures. Yet, he never missed a class. Somehow, Harrison remained at the top of his class. Because for him, giving up was never an option. He had no support, no comfort, just hunger and hope, and a stubborn belief that maybe, just maybe, he could still win. But even Harrison didn't know that fate wasn't done with him yet. It was about to introduce him to the one person who would change everything. Her name was Joy. The first time Harrison saw her, he didn't like her. It was at the university's interdepartmental quiz competition, an annual intellectual war that brought out the best minds on campus. Harrison represented the Faculty of Engineering. She represented medical laboratory science. Her name, Joy, sharp, confident, fearless, and annoyingly fast with her answers. Every time Joy beat him to the buzzer, she'd flash a smug little smile. Not arrogant, just bold. It made Harrison grit his teeth. He wasn't sure if he wanted to outsmart her or erase that smile from her face. The final round came. The auditorium was packed. Tension filled the air like smoke. It was Harrison versus Joy. The battle of brains. Each question felt like a punch. Each answer, a strike. When it was over, the scoreboard read, tie. They were declared joint winners. No handshake, no smiles. They walked past each other like strangers. That should have been the end of their story. But fate had other plans. Weeks passed. Harrison was sinking deeper. His world had crumbled. No parents, no money, no support. Most of his classmates had moved on with their lives. Lectures, parties, relationships. But Harrison was barely surviving. Then one afternoon as he left the library, he heard a voice behind him. Harrison, right? He turned. It was her. Joy. He gave a slight nod and tried to keep walking, but she followed. You've changed, she said quietly. He tried to laugh it off. Life happened. Joy didn't push. She didn't ask questions. But from that day, she kept showing up. One afternoon, she dropped a bottle of malt and a snack on his table in the library. Another day, she left a textbook in his locker, one he had been struggling to afford. Sometimes she sent him texts. Don't give up. You're not invisible. You were born to shine, Harrison. Even broken wings can still fly. What Harrison didn't know was that Joy was quietly using part of her monthly upkeep, sent from Port Harcourt by her parents, to support him. Without saying a word, she never made him feel like a charity case. She didn't do it for love or attention. She just saw someone drowning and decided not to look away. And slowly, the wall around Harrison's heart began to crack. They started walking home together after class, talking, laughing, sitting under a tree near the faculty building just to breathe. One evening, as they sat in silence, Harrison finally asked, Why are you helping me? Joy looked at him with those bold eyes. Because I know what it's like to be strong when no one sees you, and because I believe in you, even when you don't. He didn't know what to say, but he knew how it felt, to have someone believe in him again, to have joy. Final year came faster than expected. For others, it was a time for photo shoots and countdowns. For Harrison, it was a battle for survival. His laptop had died. He typed his final year project at a cyber cafe, 1 hour at a time. He used borrowed books and old flash drives. His shirt was faded, his shoes cracked, but he kept going. Joy stayed by his side. She helped with research, proofread his work, and made sure he ate. You're going to shock them, Harrison, she would whisper. And on graduation day, he did. He showed up quietly, no fanfare. Just a borrowed gown, an old shirt, and dust-covered shoes. People laughed. Which department is this one from? Someone joked. But then, a voice from the podium said, Next we will hear from one of the best graduating students, Mr. Harrison Okoye. Silence fell. Harrison stepped up. He didn't read from paper. He spoke from the soul, about pain, loss, resilience. And when he ended with, You may not remember my clothes, but I promise you'll remember my name, the entire hall stood and clapped. Even those who mocked him now stared in awe. Joy was in the crowd, clapping through tears. Because in that moment, the world finally saw what she had always seen. Lagos was supposed to be a fresh start. Armed with nothing but a folder full of certificates and a small bag of clothes, Harrison moved into a one-room apartment in Ojada with Joy. It wasn't much. Cracked walls, a leaking ceiling, and one thin mattress. But it was theirs, a space where they could dream, where they could begin again. Every morning, Harrison woke before sunrise. He ironed his only white shirt with a stove-heated iron, polished his worn-out shoes, and stepped into the Lagos streets with a printed CV tucked under his arm. He walked for hours, from Yaba to Ikeja, from Ikeja to Victoria Island. Sometimes he got interviews. Most times he didn't even make it past the gate. You're too qualified. You don't fit our company image. You talk too confidently. Your shoes don't match your credentials. One HR officer actually laughed at his resume, right before asking security to escort him out. But Harrison endured. Each rejection was a wound, but he kept moving, because if he stopped, he'd drown. Every evening, he returned home with sweat-soaked clothes, sore feet, and a silence Joy had come to understand. She never asked questions, just made sure there was food, even if it was just Gary and ground nuts. Sometimes they ate in silence. Sometimes they talked into the night about the life they hoped to build. Joy, too, was carrying her own weight. She had a second-class upper degree and glowing references, but the best job she could get was as a front desk assistant in a small private clinic. Long hours, low pay, constant disrespect. One day a friend pulled her aside. "Joy, no offense, but you're wasting your life. That boy is dragging you down." Joy didn't argue. She smiled politely and walked away. But that night, she cried in the bathroom, muffling her sobs with a towel. She wasn't regretting Harrison. She was just tired. And Harrison? His breaking point came one hot Tuesday afternoon. He had walked from Yaba to Victoria Island again, CV in hand, hunger in his stomach. Then near a restaurant in Lekki, he ran into someone he hadn't seen in years. Olamide, an old classmate, now in designer clothes, holding car keys to a Mercedes, laughing with two women as he stepped out of his Benz. "Harrison, Guy, now you be this?" he said, shocked. "Ah, what happened?" They sat for lunch. Olamide paid for everything. Food, drinks, even a takeaway pack. "You're too smart for this hustle," he said between bites. "See, I'd do crypto and one or two other things. Fast money, clean if you play it right. You want plug in?" Harrison paused. The food in front of him was more than he had eaten in days. The environment felt like heaven. For a moment, the temptation lingered, but then he remembered Joy, her sacrifices, her tears, her belief. He shook his head. "I can't. I didn't suffer all these years to become someone I won't recognize." Olamide shrugged. "Suit yourself. But when hunger wire you again, call me." That night, Harrison said nothing. He came home, ate quietly, and held Joy longer than usual. But around 2 a.m., he woke up. He pulled out his folder, the certificates, the awards, the letters of recommendation. He stared at them in the dark and cried, "God, is this what I suffered for?" Joy woke to his sobs. She didn't speak. She just sat beside him and wrapped her arms around his shoulders. "You're not a failure," she whispered. "Even diamonds take years to shine." He didn't answer, but the next morning he made a decision. "I can't keep living like this," he muttered to himself as he buttoned up his shirt. Instead of printing more CVS, Harrison walked to a construction site near Maryland. A big project was underway. Cement trucks, iron rods, workers shouting orders. He walked up to the site engineer and said, "I need work. Anything." The man looked him over, then handed him a shovel. "Start today, daily pay, no complaints." And just like that, Harrison became a laborer. No office, no titles, just bricks, dust, and sweat. He didn't tell Joy at first. He didn't want her to worry, but in his heart, for the first time in months, he felt useful. He had no idea that life was about to change again. Because on that construction site, fate was watching, and her name was Benita. The construction site was like a war zone. Noise, heat, and cement dust. Harrison blended in easily. Hard work didn't scare him. Every day he mixed concrete, carried blocks, and cleared debris. His hands blistered, his shoulders burned, but he kept showing up. Then one morning, everything changed. It was around 11 a.m. The sun was merciless. Harrison was filling a wheelbarrow with gravel when a sleek black SUV pulled up at the edge of the site. The engine purred like a beast. Everyone paused. From the car stepped a woman, tall, graceful, dressed in white. Her heels clicked against the concrete as she walked. Everything about her said power. Benita, daughter of Minister Isaac Okonkwo, owner of the private energy project Harrison was unknowingly working on. She had come to inspect the site. Workers stared. Some whispered. A few tried to show off. Harrison didn't look up. He kept working. Benita, laughing on the phone, strolled toward a pile of sand near the outer fence. That's when Harrison noticed it. A movement near her feet. A snake. Thick, black, coiled, ready to strike. Harrison didn't think. He dropped the wheelbarrow and shouted, "Madam, stop!" She froze. He grabbed a rusted rod nearby and sprinted toward her. One strike, two, three, until the snake stopped moving. Chaos erupted. Benita was shaken. The security team rushed over. People gasped. One man clapped. Benita looked at Harrison for the first time. Really looked. Dusty, sweating, torn clothes, but eyes full of fire. "You saved my life," she whispered. Harrison said nothing. He just picked up his shovel and returned to work. But that moment stuck with her. The next day, Benita returned to the site. She wore jeans and a black top this time. Simple, curious. She walked around searching. "Where's the laborer that saved me?" she asked. "He no come today, madam," the engineer replied. "Say him go church." She handed over a card. "Give him my number. Tell him I said he should call me." When Harrison got the message, he laughed. "For what?" he told Joy. "She just wants to say thank you." But Joy was thoughtful. "Harrison, just call her. You never know." 3 days later, a formal invitation arrived. "You are invited to a private dinner at the residence of Minister Isaac Okonkwo." Harrison didn't want to go, but Joy insisted. "You've worked so hard. At least hear what they have to say." So that evening, Harrison stood outside a mansion that looked like something out of a movie. Marble walls, gold-plated gates, security men in black. He was led inside to a candlelit dining room. Benita was there, and beside her, the minister. They welcomed him politely, served him food he hadn't tasted in years. Grilled chicken, yam porridge, and fruit juice. Then the minister spoke. "I heard you saved my daughter's life," and he said. Harrison nodded. "Yes, sir, it was nothing." "Number it was everything," the minister said. "Tell me, what did you study?" "Electrical engineering." The man smiled. "Drop your CV tomorrow. I think I have something for you." A week later, Harrison got the call. He was hired, full-time consultant, private office, official car, salary that made his eyes water. He moved into a new apartment with tiles, water, light, peace, and of course, Joy came with him. The first night, she stood in the kitchen and cried softly. God did it. They held each other and dreamed again. But while Harrison was settling in, Benita was not done. She started calling more, sending lunch to his office, dropping by with small gifts. Joy noticed, but she trusted him, until one day Benita said it clearly. It was a Friday afternoon. Benita has asked to have lunch with him. He accepted and went with her to a restaurant down the street close to his office. "Harrison, I want to marry you." He thought she was joking. "I'm serious," she said. "My father already agrees. We can build something powerful together." Harrison was silent, looking sad. He went home that night, and Joy saw it in his eyes. "Harrison, what happened?" He didn't answer. "I'll tell you next weekend." And next weekend, he did, but not with words, with action. The weekend came. Benita's family had invited Harrison for dinner, expecting a formal conversation about wedding plans. The air in the mansion buzzed with quiet excitement. Servants moved quickly. A large table was set. But when the front door opened, Benita froze, because Harrison didn't come alone. Joy walked in beside him, holding his hand, dressed in her beautiful gown, her head high but her fingers trembling. They sat down. Benita's father, the minister, furrowed his brows. "Who is this?" Harrison cleared his throat. "Sir, this is Joy." This time Joy sat next to him. "She's not just my girlfriend. She's the woman who stood by me when I had nothing." The room went silent. "I came here tonight, not to accept your proposal, but to honor her." Benita blinked. Her father's face turned from confusion to shock. "When I was sleeping on hostile floors, she brought me food. When I cried at night, she held me. When I had nothing but dust on my hands and shame in my eyes, she never left." The minister's hand trembled. "I'm grateful for the job, sir. Truly, but I can't sell my soul for success. I choose Joy, not just because she loved me, but because I love her." The minister sank back into his chair. His lips moved, but no words came. "Get out," he muttered, voice shaking. "Get out." Joy's eyes filled with tears. Harrison took her hand. They turned and walked out, not saying another word. By Monday morning, Harrison's life was upside down. His job was gone. The office car, taken back. The fancy apartment, locked. No warning, no letter, just silence. He packed what little he had and moved with Joy to a small one-bedroom flat. No AC, no luxury, just a mattress on the floor and one standing fan. Joy smiled as she arranged their things. "I still have peace," Harrison whispered that night, "because I still have you." They slept soundly, two warriors resting after a storm, until one morning, a knock came. Harrison opened the door and froze. Standing there was Benita, and beside her, the minister. Behind them, two security men. But this time they weren't angry. They were smiling. "Please," the minister said softly, "can we come in?" Inside the small room, the minister looked around. The peeling walls, the plastic chair, the fan humming in the corner. He turned to Harrison. "My son," he began. Harrison blinked. "Sir? I came to apologize. I judged you. I tested you. And you passed." He turned to Joy. "You are truly blessed. This man is gold." Then facing Harrison again, his voice cracked. "You remind me of my son, the one I lost. And I almost lost you too. But today, I want to make things right." He pulled out a brown envelope and placed it on the table. "These are transfer documents. I've handed over 50% of my properties to your name. Not because of what you did, but because of who you are." Harrison couldn't breathe. Benita stepped forward. "I'm not here to cause confusion. I just wanted you to know I respect your decision, and I'm proud of you." Joy was already crying. They all embraced. In that one-bedroom apartment, a new chapter began. Not with power or luxury, but with humility, healing, and honor. Harrison didn't just gain a house or a job, he gained something greater, a legacy, a story, and above all, peace.